Judy Malinowski was the firstborn of three siblings. She was really close to her mom, and growing up, she was into beauty pageants, and she became a mom young, and she found out that she had cancer at the age of 21. She found out she had ovarian cancer. So, because they had to put her on pain medicine to treat, the pain, she ended up getting addicted to pain medicine. And she got better, and she recovered from the cancer. So she decided to get off the medication because she knew she was coming codependent on it. Well, when she met her boyfriend, Michael, her cancer came back. So, to help with the pain, she got back on drugs. This time, though, when they tried to wean her off, which I need to say, it's not her fault, because doctors are really bad with just telling you, take this and you'll feel better. And so because a doctor is telling you, you don't think nothing of it. So she took them like she was told, but she ended up getting addicted to it. And so when the doctor stopped giving her the pain medicine, her boyfriend would end up going and getting it for her. He also became really abusive to her. She was terrified of him. And she would call the police, but then she was so scared she would wind up hanging up, and they would try to call her back, but they would get no answer. He always knew where she was. So she was terrified of him. Well, Judy had decided that she was ready to go to rehab, and she wanted to go to treatment. So before she checked herself in, she wanted to say goodbye, to her two young daughters, and she wanted to say bye to her mom. And her boyfriend was the one that took her. Well, she wanted to get cigarettes, so they went to a gas station. And at this gas station, they started arguing. And he would end up pouring gasoline on her. And he would set her on fire. Now, he would say that it was an accident. That the reason he did it was because she spilled a soda on him, and he just done it to mess up her clothes. That was his excuse. So the mom got the call that her daughter was in the hospital. Well, when she went, Michael, Judy's boyfriend, was also there at the same hospital being treated. So she took a wrong turn and she ended up in his hospital room. And she kept asking him, well, where's my daughter? What's going on? And all he would say is, it was an accident. I didn't mean to do it. When she found her daughter, she realized how bad the situation was. She was burnt bad. And she had to have over 60 surgeries. Well, they wanted the story from her of what had happened. But in order to do that, they had to wing her off her pain medicines because she was in so much pain. So, I mean, she was having a hard time. She couldn't talk. She lost most of all of her eyesight. And when they asked her if it was an accident, what he did, she shook her head no. It wasn't an accident, that he had done it on purpose. And then she was asked if she wanted to testify against him. It would be in her hospital room. But when she was going to testify, Michael wanted to be there, but they said no. No one was allowed in that room, just her and the people that were talking to her. So she tells what happened that day, and she talks about how she, was going to check herself into rehab. But first she had some stuff that day she wanted to do. One being getting cigarettes. She said that they had been arguing and he was calling her names. So she had got fed up with him and she had thrown a soda on him. Well, he got angry and he poured gasoline on her, and she said she remembers it going in her throat and how much it hurt. She said at one point she fell over and he was coming towards her with the lighter, and she said the look on his face was just evil. She said his eyes were black. She said it was like he had no soul. So he ends up coming to her and he sets her on fire. And she said there was no remorse in him. She was screaming, and there had been people that had called 911. Well, probably knowing that he was going to get in trouble, he decided to put out the fire. But she said, obviously, that he was not remorseful, and it was not an accident what he had done. And they asked her, they said, are you sure you can remember all these details? And she says, yes, I remember all the bigger details. She just says she can't remember like small details, but she can remember the bigger details. So they take her testimony, and from her hospital room, she advocates for other victims of violence and pushes for them to have longer sentences. This woman survived 2 years in a lot of pain. And finally, she wanted to be put on hospice because she was ready. She was ready to pass away. And her mom told her, she said, I'll hold your one hand until Jesus takes the other. And she would pass away. And Michael would end up getting a life sentence. They were wanting to go for the death penalty, but that's not what Judy wanted. She wanted him to have a life sentence. So she didn't want him to get the death penalty. Even though he didn't have no remorse for her, she felt for him. She was just an amazing person. So that is the story of Judy Malinowski.